Tonight, in a Dr. Phil Primetime exclusive, we're diving into a story that gripped the headlines. It is as heart-wrenching as it is heinous and thought-provoking. You may have heard of Bryn Spacer. In 2018, Bryn went into what is known as a cannabis-induced psychosis, which resulted in her repeatedly stabbing her friend Chad O'Melia. She stabbed him to death with an 8-inch serrated kitchen knife, and then ultimately turning the knife on herself. On that night, it took 8 police officers tasing Bryn 4 times, hitting her with a metal baton 9 times, and then eventually breaking her right arm to retrieve the knife from her hand. In late 2023, Bryn was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and in a move that shocked the country, was given no jail time. She was ultimately sentenced to 3 years probation, issued a no-contact order with the victim's family, and ordered to attend a 52-week domestic violence program.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are
Good
you?
to see you, Bryn.
Nice to meet you.
Well, Bryn, I appreciate you being here and telling your story and talking about this. How did you meet Chad, and how long did you know him?
I met Chad at the local dog park where I lived. So when I had my dog, my husky, arrive in Thousand Oaks area, we started going to the dog park, and I started to get to know other dog owners there, one being Chad, and we developed a friendship in those few 4 or 5 weeks.
Had he been to your house and you been to his?
He's never been to my house, but I've been to his condominium several times.
And you got along well?
Yeah, I mean, we were very sarcastic with each other. We were always joking around a lot. We shared a lot of common interests.
And it was 4 or 5 weeks that you knew him, right?
Correct.
And how long had you lived in that area?
In Thousand Oaks?
Uh-huh.
I moved out to California around August, early August, to start my job on the 7th.
Let's talk about your job, because you're a very dedicated professional.
Yes.
And you have is it a PhD? Or it's an AUD, right?
Correct. It's an AUD for Doctor of Audiology.
Mm-hmm. How long does it take to get that? Do you go BA, MA, AUD?
We get a bachelor's degree, and then you go right into the doctorate program for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then you obtain your AUD.
Yeah, so that's not easy to do.
No, it's definitely rigorous coursework, especially at where I went, Washington University in St. Louis School of Medicine, and it was one of the top 3 graduate programs for audiology, so it was not easy.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes. I felt like I was getting so much fantastic experience from the program at WashU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And you worked for an organization in LA that was all over the whole city, right? And very well known.
Yes, I got hired by UCLA. It was actually the David Geffen School of Medicine that is part of UCLA, and they hired me for the satellite office located in Thousand Oaks, California.
Yeah. Let's talk about the night of the incident. You got to Chad's condo about 10:30 at night, right?
Yes, I was hanging out with a couple friends, and last minute I decided to stop by Chad's condo, and I got there at about 10:30 p.m.
And you had your dog?
I had my dog, so typically I walk in the grassy area in the complex to make sure she goes potty before we go up to his 2nd floor condo.
And when you got there, what was he doing?
He invited me in. His dog, Athena, was there, and we were just hanging out in the living room, catching up, chatting, relaxing on the couch, just talking about what happened over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And had he been smoking marijuana when you got there?
I don't remember if he was, but I'm not entirely sure. He wasn't smoking marijuana when I was there.
Yeah.
In like the hour I was hanging out with him.
Okay. So when did that begin, where the two of you started to smoke marijuana?
So after about an hour or two of chatting in the living room, it was getting late at night, and he said he was getting ready for bed, but typically he likes to smoke marijuana before he goes to bed. So all of his bong and all of his other materials were outside on his patio. So he went outside to go do that. And knowing that he can kind of smoke for a while, I decided I didn't want to sit in the living room by myself. So I went outside to join him on the porch to just continue hanging out with him.
And so you went out there with him, and you asked for a hit, right?
I saw him smoke a couple hits, and I did ask him, oh, can I have a hit? Can I have a dose? And he was very relieved, excited to want to provide that for me.
Right. And you had smoked out of this particular bong before
I have.
that night, right? A couple of times?
I have smoked out of the bong a week prior.
Okay. Any reaction
No,
then?
None.
Nothing unusual?
none,
No reaction? Nothing at all?
no.
Okay. That night when you got over there and you were catching up in the living room and went out on the patio, you guys didn't have words at all? There was no tension between you?
No.
No
not
argument?
That night, no.
Uh-huh. Had you had arguments before?
We've never had arguments before. It was more him reacting to something that upset him. And he was the one that overreacted or got very upset or angry. That was more isolated with him. And it wasn't like him and I never yelled at each other, argued, like between us two.
Okay. So you two didn't have a volatile relationship.
No.
And so you go out on the patio and everything was copacetic. He was excited that you came out and wanted to take a hit. You did. And what was your reaction when you...
It was kind of similar to what I've experienced before, where it was just, you're coughing and I needed some water to kind of suppress those symptoms. And he was kind of laughing just because, I'm obviously not an experienced marijuana smoker. So he was just kind of giving me advice on how to inhale it correctly and how to smoke it properly while he was telling me this while I'm like coughing. So.
And how many times have you done it in your life? I mean, is it like 10 times or 100 times?
Total, I would say about 10 times, and that's including joints, pipes, and edibles.
And did you have a reaction to it?
I rarely had a reaction other than the very first time I smoked a joint with a former boyfriend back in 2016 when it was legal in Oregon and Washington, and we were camping. We smoked the joint, and the only reaction I had was just giggling and being super relaxed and enjoying our camping trip.
Never had a bad reaction in any way?
Never.
Okay. And you told him that you didn't have much of a reaction to the hit that you took?
Yeah, so after the first hit, we were kind of discussing marijuana stories and how I was telling him that, I never really react to marijuana. I would tell him about my first experience of having marijuana. And at some point, he mentioned how he was feeling very high. And I told him, oh, I don't feel high. I really don't care to, and he was very shocked by that statement that I told him that I wasn't feeling high at all. And he followed up with, oh, well, let's make this really intense for you. And I kind of was skeptical about that statement, knowing Chad's personality, how he was very sarcastic, joking around a lot. And then I just kind of watched him, what he was doing next, not knowing what that meant or if he was kidding. Almost like with alcohol, like, oh, let's have another shot. Okay, well, sure. But I didn't know in terms of, let's make this really intense with marijuana. I didn't know what he meant by that.
Did he go get something that wasn't already there?
I couldn't see the drug kit because the large bong was in the way. But from what I saw, he grabbed more of something in his drug kit. And when he put it in the bowl of the marijuana bong, it just looked more like marijuana leaves. So similar to the other previous times I've seen him do, and other of my friends. And he prepped it the same way I've seen it before, by lighting the marijuana, putting his mouth on the tube, and filling the tube with smoke. And the only difference I noticed was that there was much more smoke in there. It looked a little more milky.
Did you want to do the second?
No, I didn't.
Why'd you do it?
I wish I didn't, obviously knowing what happened. But after he was quickly rushing and pressuring me to take this second hit, honestly, I didn't think anything of it like, oh, it might just be, like I won't have a reaction just like I've done with multiple hits before.
How was he pressuring you?
As he was taking a little longer with preparing this tube, he quickly rose out of his chair, turned the bong around to face me, and because he was so close, he kind of moved the bong much closer to my face. And it's just a matter of a couple seconds where he's just was saying, hurry up, you have to inhale now, do it really quick, do it fast right now, go, go, go. And it was just like a couple seconds that I was just, I guess I do. And I do take complete responsibility for taking that dose that he provided to me. And I wish I didn't.
But there was an expectation when he turned it around and he expected you to take it.
Correct.
Yeah. Could you have said no?
I wish I said no.
Could you have said no?
Probably. I probably could have pushed it out of the way or something.
If you had known what was going to happen, you, of course, would have said no.
I would have never smoked marijuana in my entire life if I'd known something like that could have happened.
It's never too late to make progress. If your credit is under 600, you could jump like 28 points in your first month. Kickoff is a smart, legit credit hack with no catch, no credit check, no hidden fees, and no interest. It's simple. You make on-time payments, credit bureaus see good behavior, and your credit grows fast. Start building credit immediately for only $1 your first month. With AutoPay, you never have to worry about missing a payment, so you can build credit in your sleep. Sign up in minutes from your phone. No credit check, cancel anytime. Building credit can happen faster than you expect with Kickoff. Don't wait and get your first month for just $1 at getkickoff.com/Phil. That's Kickoff without the C. Get 80% off at GetKickoff. That's KIKOFF.com/Phil. Must sign up via getkickoff.com/Phil to activate offer.
Offer applies to new customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Point stat based on Equifax Vantage Score 3.0. Changes for Kickoff users starting under 600 who made their first on-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Payment and credit activity outside Kickoff can have an impact on your credit. Individual results may vary.
If you had known what was going to happen, you, of course, would have said no.
I would have never smoked marijuana in my entire life if I'd known something like that could have happened.
When you did it, you immediately knew this is totally different. You had a completely different reaction instantly, right?
Completely different, scary reaction.
You had a physical reaction immediately, right?
I could tell there was a more intense burning sensation in my throat. I was coughing so much harder. Tears were running down my face. It felt like a puff of air was stuck in my throat that I needed to vomit out. Everything was so much more intense and stronger. Nothing that I've ever felt before.
You'd never experienced that with any marijuana you'd smoked before.
Never.
So this was totally new to you.
Correct.
And what did you do at that point?
I tried to drink water, but that wasn't working. I stumbled out of the chair knowing that I needed to somehow control myself to see how I could cough or vomit. So I stumbled my way into the bathroom to have the vomit gagging reflexes, to try and figure out how to stop the coughing. And I was crying, and it felt like 10 minutes were going by with Chad coming in and out. I couldn't really comprehend what he was saying or asking me, but I remember having him place unopened water bottles on the sink. And I asked him at one point if he had an albuterol inhaler, because I have one as needed, as like a breathing, wheezing effect doing sporting activities. And he didn't have one. Then at that point, I, could not focus on what Chad was saying or doing, and I was trying to figure out how to stop these symptoms from worsening.
Mm-hmm.
And then after about what felt like 10 minutes, I was holding myself up on the sink, looking at myself in the mirror and just crying, coughing, and I could start to see the entire room start to spin clockwise, and the dizziness started to come.
So at first, your symptoms were all physical, choking,
Correct.
Gagging, coughing, and you said you were crying. Was that from coughing and choking, or was that from...
It's from all the painful symptoms I was experiencing.
This wasn't emotionality or whatever. It was from all the gagging and coughing.
It was definitely from all the serious, painful, burning, coughing, gagging, not confusion of what was going on.
At what point did you get scared?
While I was in the bathroom.
At that point, you were thinking, this should have stopped by now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's not stopping?
Correct.
And that's when you asked for the inhaler?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was he being helpful?
I don't really know, other than the bathroom door was closing behind me, so he put like a shoe there to keep it open. He placed water bottles on the sink. Otherwise, he was like kind of gone most of the time.
You said you were trying to talk to him, but you don't think you were making sense.
So once I started feeling the dizziness, I knew I needed to lay down because I didn't want to risk falling. So I stumbled my way to the couch to lay down. And I remember still experiencing the pain that I was going through, and Chad was coming up to my face, pouring water in my face, kind of kept asking me things. And then I would see him in the kitchen, and I would try to have a conversation with him, but I could not speak clearly. Nothing came out logically. It was all so incoherent. And I was very frustrated with myself that I was not able to carry a controlled conversation with him. And I could see he responded back saying, and laughing at me, saying how high I was feeling and how high I was acting.
Mm-hmm. You said that he told you to go to sleep.
Yes, at some point I asked him why we were repeating the conversation. He said, I'm experiencing a deja vu effect, so you should try and close your eyes and fall asleep.
You said you were afraid he was going to go to sleep and you would choke to death.
I did ask him to stay awake in case I was going to choke to death, yes.
You want somebody to watch you?
Correct.
Yeah. What did he say?
I don't remember.
Did this get bad enough that you thought you could die? I mean, if he went to sleep, were you afraid you were going to choke to death and die?
I'm sure I thought that, but I think I was more focused on why is this happening? I'm scared. I'm again hoping Chad is there for me in case something happened and he can call 911 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember saying, please stay awake. in case I die from choking. So I guess, yes.
And at that point, you had some faculties. If you're telling him to stay awake, keep an eye on me.
Yeah, that was the last conscious memory I had.
When metabolism functions properly, every aspect of life benefits. A powerful tool exists to optimize metabolic health: Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. By measuring breath, it determines whether the body is burning fat or carbs and provides personalized guidance for nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress. A simple morning breath into Lumen reveals metabolic status. A tailored daily nutrition plan follows, with the ability to track changes before and after meals or workouts. Lumen also adapts to hormonal shifts, including cycle changes and menopause, ensuring sustained metabolic health. Take the next step to improving your health. Go to lumen.me/Dr. Phil to get 20% off your Lumen. That's LUMEN.me/Dr. Phil for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Did you think about calling 911?
I wish I did. I don't think I was capable of doing that because of the intensity of the pain I was going through. I couldn't see because it was just blurry from my eyes. So I wish I did. I always think about that, where I wish I was able to ask to call 911 or do it myself. But, I think I was in such a dizziness phase where I don't even know where my phone was. I don't know where anything was.
Did you have vertigo at this point? I mean, were you
Yes.
moving around?
Yes.
You said you remember seeing visions. What did you see?
I was in my own body, laying there, wondering why I wasn't waking up, why I couldn't move. Having these thoughts of, well, am I dead? Am I alive? Why am I not in heaven? What's going on? And then I had a vision. I started feeling people touching my body. And then I had another vision of my soul left this dead body, and I could see my dead body on the porch with paramedics and Chad crying. So that vision alone made me believe that I was dead. And then I remember another vision of hearing my mom crying over my dead body. And I think there was another vision of like a funeral where more people are crying. So all these different visions made me believe that I was dead.
Were there any positive visions or emotions during this time at all?
No.
Nothing peaceful?
Nothing peaceful.
Not even being dead wasn't peaceful?
No.
And when your mother was there and she was crying about you being dead, did you feel a connection with her at all?
I don't think I had any thoughts of that. I think it was just more like, I can't believe I'm dead. Like I was stuck in this dead body and I couldn't believe I was actually dead.
Mm-hmm. What was the next thing in your vision that you remember after all of these people looking at your dead body?
Then this next phase was the traumatic phase.
Let's cut to the chase. Your savings could be in serious trouble. When Elon Musk is out here warning us to brace for temporary hardship, you might want to listen. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. Are you going to sit back and hope for the best or take control of your financial future? Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505. That's DRPHIL to 50505 today.
Then this next phase was the traumatic phase. And I describe this phase like you're watching a TV screen in front of you. Like a camera is sitting right here recording somebody else doing all these horrible, horrible things. And I remember the screen popped open and there was movement occurring in the living room. And there were chairs flown to the ground like they were blocking Chad. And the movement kept going towards the kitchen. And remind you that it wasn't like I felt walking. There was no thought, there was no emotion, there was no pain, there was no morality, there was like nothing. It was just literally watching a screen and like as a zombie. So as the screen went towards the kitchen, it was facing a block of knives, and I saw the two hands grab the knives and turn towards Chad and throw the knives towards Chad. And then it turned back to the block of knives, and it grabbed another two knives and kept them in the hands. And then the screen moved to walk out of the kitchen. And there's a brown dog in front of me, and the knife in the left hand stabbed that dog. And I heard Chad say, "Oh my gosh, why did you stab my dog?" And then the movement kept moving towards Chad, who was on the other side of the dining room tables. And he was just standing there in this vision. And as I got closer to him, I saw the knife in my left hand stab his abdomen. And then it just went black. And then the next thing I remember is the screen popped up open again. And his body was on the floor. And then mine body or the screen fell to the floor. And I heard a Bryn, what are you doing? And the screen turned 180 and saw the roommate at the top of the stairs. And the screen turned back, and I saw the knives in the hands continue to hurt Chad. And then it would go black, and then that's when I would start to hear voices.
And they would say what?
The voices would start saying, "Keep going, don't stop, you're almost there, you can do this." They were more encouraging words for I don't know what. And then the next vision I remember is seeing one knife in both of my hands, aimed towards the center of my throat. And that's when I was trying to hurt myself. And it was like the more pain that was caused on my throat, there would be a lighter vision of like that my body is actually in a doctor's room, like they're trying to rescue me. And then when that vision went away, I tried screaming really hard. And the harder I screamed, saying things like asking God to save my life, screaming about different family members I care about. And the harder I would scream those things again, the vision back to life was coming back. It would go black again, and then I would try the throat thing, and it would do it again. And then at some point, trying to aim the knife again towards my throat felt like 1,000 bullets a second. And it happened twice, and by the second time that happened, it just went black.
Were you in the screen or were you behind the screen? You said that the screen turned. Was your awareness that you were in the screen looking out, or was the screen in front of you?
I think, I don't know. I think this, I don't remember. I think at that point it felt like I was in the screen.
And when you say you saw the hand go out with a knife, did it come out of the screen, or was this just part of what was in the screen?
It was what was part of in the screen.
Sometimes when people are in a psychotic state, the introduction of sharp, acute pain to their body will have the effect of bringing them back to reality, if even for a moment. Did it have that effect when you stabbed yourself in the neck?
I don't remember pain, but I remember the more I was stabbing what felt like just the center of my throat was helping me get back into life.
How many times did you stab yourself?
I don't know. It felt like thousands. Like only right here, but obviously afterwards it was all over the place.
You can be in a psychotic state and feel emotions like you did when your mother was there. What emotions were you feeling when Chad was being stabbed?
There were no emotions.
It's just robotic.
Yeah. There was no emotions. There was no sense of morality. There was no sense of thought or anything during the psychosis.
And how about when you were stabbing yourself?
There was no thought of emotions or like suicidal thoughts. There was honestly no thoughts. I thought it was something that I was doing to help the doctors make me come back to life. And it felt like with the bullets happening at the center of my throat, like I could vision the doctors using a defibrillator twice to bring my body back up, like I was helping them. And some of those voices I would hear felt like it was coming from them, saying, "You're almost there, keep going, Bryn, you can do this, you're gonna wake up soon."
Were you aware when they arrived on the scene?
No.
You weren't aware they had been added to the environment, the milieu.
Are you talking about police officers? I did not know.
Yeah.
I was blacked out. I didn't see them.
And you know now that you were tased
Yes.
multiple times?
I believe 4 times.
4 times? And how did you explain that in your psychotic state? What did your mind tell you was happening?
During the psychotic state, I don't think I put that together. It was more so feeling like it was just the knife stabbing me 1,000 times, and at the same time, that was with the doctors using a defibrillator to rescue me. But again, I didn't see any police officers or saw the tasing or any of that.
You weren't aware you were being tased?
No.
You're mentioning a defibrillator. Did you somehow conflate those things? You're getting shocked from the outside and you're thinking defibrillator?
It was part of the visions that I was experiencing as I was aiming. It was like when the knife was aimed at the center of my throat, the vision would come up like I'm about to come alive. And it was like the doctors were using the defibrillator in correlation to that to help me. And I was helping them. They were helping me to come back to life.
When you were younger as a girl, 10, 11, 12, at any age, did you ever cut yourself?
Never.
Never into cutting, anything like that?
Never.